Hey y'all! I don't know why I said it like that. Welcome to Study Abroad 101. So as you're going through your process of exploring programs and talking to people about study abroad, you've most likely come across or heard the term culture shock. For some people, culture shock is just getting really homesick and not wanting to stay in the country that they're in and just being really depressed and frustrated with themselves. And some people have it really mild. Like me, I didn't really feel very shocked when I went to Guatemala for the first time. Everyone experiences it differently, but it does happen to everyone. So like I said, when I got to Guatemala, I didn't really feel shocked by anything that was happening there. I mean, of course there were things that surprised me and things that were new, but I wasn't really intensely shocked by any of the aspects of that culture. One thing that was kind of different there, and in all of Latin America, which I saw when I went to Peru as well, is that people make out everywhere in public. There's not the PDA taboo that we have here in the States. And as I started talking to people and asking them about that, like what's going on with all the romance in the streets, I learned that in Latin America, people live with their families for a lot longer than we do in the States. You know, here, most people move out when they graduate high school and go to college and everything. And I learned that in Latin America, it's part of the culture for children to stay with their families, even when they graduate. And a lot of factors play into that, such as the economy, universities. A lot of universities aren't residential like they are here. They don't have dorms. It's like a commuter campus. So that was one thing that was different for me. So usually people can't just bring their boyfriend or girlfriend back to their house to mess around and have fun because their parents and their family is probably going to be there. So that's why people make out in parks, in restaurants, and anywhere you can think of. So that was one thing that really stuck out to me that was really different, but I didn't say it shocked me, like I wasn't morally offended by it or anything. There are 5 typical stages to cultural adjustment that everybody experiences differently, but they do all experience these at some time during their study abroad trip. The first stage is what's called the honeymoon phase, and that's just what it sounds like. It's when you first get there and you're super excited to be in a new country and you're just drinking everything in and you don't want to miss anything. And then after a while, that starts to go into culture shock, and that's when you realize that you're in a new environment and you're not accustomed to it, and all these things are happening that you're not used to, and you begin to get frustrated, especially if you can't speak the language very well and you're just having problems with that. The next stage is adjustment, and that's like it sounds. You're starting to adjust to the culture and realizing that things aren't as bad as you thought they were at the beginning. Also, as you adjust, you might hit some new lows and realize that there are some things about the culture that just don't sit well with you, like you don't like them, or something that you don't think you'll ever be able to get used to. And realizing that is just part of the whole process of cultural adjustment. And the last stage of cultural adjustment that you go to is the comfort stage, and that's when you're fully assimilated, fully immersed in the culture, and you just love everything about being there, and you don't want to go home. I promise you, when you study abroad, unless something completely horrible happens, you will not want to come back to the States, and I guarantee that. Going to Peru from Guatemala was a totally different experience. I made a lot of friends in Xela, the city in Guatemala that I was in, and I also worked at a shelter for women who were victims of domestic violence, and I really connected with all the girls there, and I did not want to leave at all. So I kind of experienced culture shock twice when I got to Peru, and I was just so mad. I did not want to be there. I was like, take me back to Guatemala, I want to go back. And even then, I still didn't think I was going through culture shock because I wasn't being shocked by anything about the culture. The only thing was that Lima, compared to Xela, is completely different. Xela it wasn't a small town, but it was about the size of Omaha, Nebraska, which is about 500,000. And Lima has a population of 9 million. So there was that getting used to. I couldn't just walk around to get to wherever I wanted. I had to take the bus. But later I saw this presentation about culture shock and about how you go through all these symptoms. And I realized, oh, hey, I actually was experiencing it. I got mad over the little things. I was really irritable. I was homesick, not for the U.S., but for Guatemala, because I had lived there for 3 months and I'd made a lot of connections with people, and it was really hard to leave. And a lot of the times I would just start crying without having any idea why. And now that I think about it, it was probably just the stress of leaving Guatemala when I didn't want to, and being thrown into this new city and this new country and everything. I don't want any of this to discourage anyone from studying abroad, because it's temporary, it ends, and it's important to remember that you're normal, you're not going crazy, this happens to everybody. Some things you can do to get over your culture shock are to keep active and busy and make friends that are native to that country. This will also help you improve your language skills, which is a source of much frustration that I definitely went through, and getting better at the language definitely helped me overcome culture shock. And I think the most important thing that really helped me was just to remember my goals. I wanted to study abroad, to become fluent in Spanish, and to make friends from another culture. And thinking about that and thinking about everything that I had in mind that I wanted to accomplish while I was there really helped me get over the symptoms that I was going through of culture shock. And just be patient with yourself and with everyone else. Don't be judgmental. Don't get offended if someone corrects you on your language skills if you're speaking a foreign language. And just remember that it's temporary and it will end. In my next video, I'll be talking about reverse culture shock, which is all the same symptoms but experienced when you come back to the United States and you have to readjust to the culture here again. And I actually think I'm going to go do that right now since I'm on a roll with culture shock. So I'll see you soon.